tonight. 8 sharp minds from Bite Size Sports all come together to provide you the hard-hitting analysis that you need around the NFL draft.
You know, I got to say real quick before we get into this, a Mitchell Trubisky sufferer. If anybody is going to be the Mitchell Trubisky of this class, it's going to be Will Levis. But anyway, we'll continue.
Yeah.
Hey, do we have the draft soundboard going? We need we need to get that pick in.
Can we throw in the Matthew Berry fantasy one that says, hurry up and make your pick?
All right, well, I'm going to kick it off here, guys. I am going to go C.J. Stroud for the Carolina Panthers. I do think that there is a chance that Bryce Young is the pick.
I've got the Texans. I don't buy the hype that they are looking for a defensive player here. I think that's an insane thing with the top 2 prospects. I also Trev thinks this falls perfectly. I think the Texans want Bryce Young. I think that's the prospect they want. I've got the Texans taking Bryce Young at 2. I think that's exactly who they want. It falls perfectly for him.
Mel Kiper better look out. And I also won't be surprised to see Chris Ballard trade down depending on what happens. For instance, if it plays out the way it's played out before us now, and someone doesn't trade up to 3 to take a quarterback, I would not be surprised to see Chris Ballard trade down. Give me Richardson here, but I hate this pick. I hate it. And I will be 100% behind Will Levis if that is the Colts pick.
As an AFC South fan, I hate this. I hate that Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson are currently moving to the South.
I am on the clock. We really need the Matthew Berry sound effect. It would add a whole other level.
Make your pick.
With the 5th overall pick, I do have the Seahawks taking Tyree Wilson. I just think that's kind of a match made in heaven for them.
Stick with some offense here and pick Paris Johnson Jr.
That's a great
from
pick.
The Ohio State.
I'm doing it. Full send. Give me Carter, and I'm going to address a few other things later in the draft if I'm the Eagles.
Jackson Smith and Jigba. I am going. Tennessee is going to go receiver. Try to replace A.J. Brown finally.
While I don't want to pass up on a pass catcher,
Darnell Washington agenda.
I know, but that agenda applies to a trade down situation.
Okay, all right.
As much as I love Darnell Washington, and I am praying and begging that he's a Packer, I don't see it at 15, and I think that unless Adrian Amos comes back, you have to take Brian Branch, and that's who I'm picking for Packers. I don't think he's going to be, an all-pro from the jump, but if he can develop, I think Brian Branch has a lot of potential in Green Bay.
All right, here we go. Is it time to ship Dalvin Cook out the door?
Is Will Levis gone?
Somehow, yeah.
Somehow he didn't make it.
No, I like where we're sitting right here. A lot of Vikings faithful is clamoring for a wide receiver 2, which is not that big of a need. I think they're going to go to a lot of heavier personnel this year. So I'm going to go cornerback here. And my favorite of the remaining, of the kind of the big 3 sitting here right now is Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Especially the Brian Flores defense. I mean, this guy is a press monster. He is just some nasty press reps. Pipe dream scenarios, actually, like a Brian Branch, just a true slot guy. But the big time cornerback they picked up in free agency is Byron Murphy, who has a ton of slot flexibility, can shadow to the boundary too. But I think if you grab Deonte Banks, Byron Murphy's in the slot on the nickel, and then you've got guys like Andrew Booth and Caleb Evans who can play the boundary, all of a sudden I think that secondary is actually looking pretty decent. And, this is a guy who I think Brian Flores is going to love to be able to just cut loose on the outside and let him really stick in tight man coverage. So I like Deonte Banks.
Obviously, it was either Bijan or Nolan Smith but there's a third guy that I'm just absolutely in love with, and he comes from Florida, and his name is Cyrus Torrance, and I just love him. I'll take him for sure. I mean, we had no O-line at all. Roger Saffold didn't work out at all. Mitch Morse has had his problems. Hopefully these guys come back and, turn it around a little bit. But Torrance is just an absolute stud, 6'5", 330. He when he transferred to the SEC, he was completely dominant, And
Where'd he come from?
He came from Louisiana.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, he came with him then.
Yeah, and he's been just dominant everywhere he's been. So I feel like if he comes to Buffalo, he could really help us out.
I don't think Mayer leaves the first round in an actual mock draft. This is probably one of the bigger sliders as well. But I'm looking at edge. I like Jones out of Ohio State, the Ohio State University, as a potential offensive tackle for us. 6'8", he's a monster. But I'm going to go with the edge rusher out of Kansas State and bring the Kansas City boy home, Felix Anudike-Uzomah.
All right.
Nice.
He's got great bend. He's phenomenal out in Kansas State. I think he's going to be a really good pro, and he might be perfect for our system and the way that we do our defense. So put him next to Chris Jones, Karlaftis on the other side, and we're going to have a nice future for him.